Coming up in today's newscast, the IDF is bracing for even more conflict on the horizon with Hamas. Same-sex couples may soon be able to adopt children in Israel. And it's official, the Eurovision 2019 is definitely going to be held in the Holy Land. It's Thursday, which means the weekend is just around the corner. So we're starting today's show with a hilarious clip that's going viral on Israeli social media right now. A foreign news team was filming in Jerusalem when a very special woman managed to make her way into their shot. Just look.
I Jerusalem så är idag mer än hälften av alla förskolebarn barn.
Clearly, she was in a frantic search for this guy, Herzl. This little clip has gone absolutely viral across Israel, so it's safe to say that somebody has probably helped her find him. All right, turning now to some harder news here. It's official. The wife of the Israeli Prime Minister, Sarah Netanyahu, has just been indicted for alleged systematic fraud. The First Lady has been formally charged for ordering $100,000 worth of meals from gourmet chefs at the taxpayers' expense. These allegations have been circling the Prime Minister's wife for several years now, but today's formal indictment of criminal charges filed by Israeli Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit still comes as quite a bombshell. The paperwork formally charges Sarah Netanyahu with both fraud and breach of trust for alleged systematic fraud of nearly $100,000 of public funds. Similar charges have also been filed against Ezra Sadoff, the former Deputy Director General of the Prime Minister's office. Sadoff is charged with working with Sarah Netanyahu to create a false front that the PM's office did not employ a private chef. Indictments specified that this was systematically done from at least 2010 until 2013. Legal reps for Sarah Netanyahu have repeatedly denied any wrongdoing and claimed that she had no awareness she may have been committing criminal offenses. Netanyahu's lawyers were said at some point to have been pursuing an outside settlement to avoid criminal charges, and rumor is that Sarah Netanyahu may have personally refused any such settlement because it would have required her to refund the funds to the state. Attorney General Mandelblit now says there will be no settlement anyway due to the fact that Sarah is also a suspect in another scandal linked to her husband, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This would be the case 4000 investigation in which Netanyahu is suspected of granting political favors to the Bezeq telecom company in exchange for favorable news coverage from its news website. The Prime Minister has consistently said that he's done nothing wrong. That investigation is still underway. It's been 24 hours since yesterday's massive rocket attack from Gaza, which saw at least 45 rockets fired from the Strip into Israeli territory. The IDF is bracing for even more conflict on the horizon, and Army units have just boosted additional Iron Dome missile defense interceptors near the Gaza border. The flames of this crisis have been mounting ever since Palestinians in Gaza began flying flaming kites and balloons over the border, burning hundreds of acres of Israeli fields. Though these arson attacks haven't claimed any casualties, there have been many close calls. Just yesterday, a bundle of balloons carrying a hidden explosive device landed in an Israeli family's backyard, on their children's trampoline. By now, Israeli residents in the south are all but accustomed to such threats. Army sappers were called out and tragedy was averted. However, speculation is high that this may all be spiraling towards an all-out war. Many believe that it's just a matter of time before first blood is spilled. If such a thing were to happen, we'd likely be seeing a new and brutal war ignite on the Gaza front. Joining us now in the studio with more on the terror along the Gaza border is Middle East expert from the Begin Sadat Center at Bar-Ilan University, Dr. Mordechai Kedar. Thank you for joining us.
Nice to see you, Natasha.
All right, so let's talk about these incendiary kites and balloons. Why are Gazans turning to this method of warfare?
Well, after they failed in everything else, in the tunnels and the projectiles, and everything failed, so now the only thing which they have is this. However, the question is, why do they do this? To begin with, in the West, if you want to prevail, you study, you develop, you go forward, and you become better. In the East, in order to prevail, you destroy the others, rather than promoting yourself. And this is actually what they do. In order to promote themselves, they try to destroy us, to burn us, to kill us, and the whole thing. This is the different mindset. Because this is the Middle East, and this is the problem.
All right, well, I mean, there's obviously an issue with how Israel is supposed to be responding to this, because nobody has actually been killed by these, kite arsons, but it's been damaging a lot of land, and obviously there is the threat that somebody could get hurt here. Can lethal force be used in this situation, and is it smart for Israel to use that tactic?
Look, it is all connected to the rules of the game, and the rules of the game can be announced. The rule could be one kite equals a projectile, a missile, and we will answer a kite just like we answer a projectile. Why? Because this could kill. Because if it falls on some house and burn it, people might get burned to death. And this is why this should be the rule. And the same thing, which we use, the same methods which we use, like personal targeting against those who send projectiles, should be implemented here as well.
Now, the United States has just left the Human Rights Council at the United Nations, but what effect do you think that this is going to have on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, especially with what we're seeing take place in the Gaza Strip?
Well, if more countries will leave this council, this will have an impact, because don't forget that today the United States of America under this administration is viewed as some kind of strange country. It lives here, it lives there, the JCPOA with Iran. So nobody really gets too excited if this government or this administration leaves any organization. If it becomes a phenomenon when other countries like Britain, like France or others will leave the Human Rights Council as well, this might have a very significant effect.
All right, Dr. Mordechai Kedel, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
The world has been slamming the cruel and inhumane treatment of kids being separated from their parents at the Mexico-U.S. border. U.S. President Donald Trump's zero-tolerance immigration policy essentially requires criminal charges for adults caught crossing the border without using a legal port of entry, and the policy has already separated almost 2,000 children from the adults that they were traveling with. Footage of children in detention has fueled global outrage, and now Holocaust survivors from the Hidden Child Foundation have just released a video condemning Trump's policy. Survivors Rachel and Jack Goldstein likened their own experiences being separated from their families by the Nazis. Take a look.
You don't separate families. You don't take children away from parents.
Most hidden children are now in their late 70s, 80s. Some are even 90, and they still think about it. Right. And it still hurts. It still aches.
Joining me now with more on the story is ILTV's Aaron Porras. Now, Aaron, many people say that what's happening on the U.S. border cannot be compared to the Holocaust.
I mean, well, we just heard from Holocaust survivors, so to tell them that it's not fair to make that comparison clearly doesn't make that much sense, and it's a bit disrespectful. But, you know, I think it would be truly heartless to say that it isn't a calamity to separate children from their parents. But I think it's still important to separate to a degree between the intentions of the Trump administration and those of the Nazi regime. You know, I mean, many of the shelters online and in some articles are even being described as concentration camps, which I think we can objectively deny.
Well, you know, these comparisons are always troublesome, but, you know, what are the distinctions here between the detention centers that these children are being held in and concentration camps from the Holocaust?
So basically, this latest policy comes from the fact that if someone is being prosecuted, you know, because they didn't come through a legal port of entry, like you said earlier, then they are liable to face criminal charges. And like anyone facing criminal charges from a detention center, you would be separated from your children. And this stands, by the way, for American citizens too, who cross illegally as well. You know, the reason that this is getting more attention now is perhaps political, but it's also primarily probably because of the zero-tolerance policy added on top, which means that it's that many more prosecutions and thus separations occurring.
Right. Now, regardless, Trump did finally sign an executive order to end the separation of families at the border, right? But there's some problems with this still. True.
I mean, you know, Ivanka Trump pressured the president, the Pope pressured Trump, audio of children being separated and crying was played outside President Trump's events. You know, in this latest video from the ADL, even Michael Cohen, President Trump's lawyer, has voiced opposition. The president has been getting criticisms from every angle and has thus signed that families should not be separated.
Yeah, but the 2,200 children, that are currently being held in the detention centers right now, their fate is still unclear. So it's not that they're necessarily being reunited with their families.
That's true.
As a result.
That's true. What will happen with them, we still don't really know. The problem right now is that, the rest of the children going forward will likely be held in detention centers with the adults that they came with. And according to Border Patrol, most children who cross illegally don't cross with their parents, but with smugglers. And they face immense dangers en route, both from those in their company and from the terrain. So who knows if this is really even a solution? I think that we can agree that children have no place in a criminal detention facility either, with anyone and everyone else who crosses.
Well, this is it's a heartbreaking and terrible situation. Obviously, we hope that a just and moral solution is going to be enacted as soon as possible here. These are human lives that we're dealing with. So, all right, Aaron, thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Now, for a second there, it looked like Israeli and Moroccan soccer fans were butting heads at the end of a World Cup match in Russia yesterday. This appeared to be the case after a video was televised showing Moroccan fans apparently trying to pull the pennants off of Israeli attendees wearing Jewish flags. But rest assured, it turns out this was one big false alarm. The fans were actually just tussling over a shirt the Moroccan team captain had tossed into the crowd. This little kerfuffle went down just moments after Portugal shut down Morocco 1-0, eliminating them entirely from the World Cup. At the end of the game, Morocco's team captain, Medhi Benatia, tosses his team shirt into the audience. Israeli fans donning Israeli flags and pennants could be seen grabbing for the keepsake alongside fans wearing Moroccan flags. But don't worry, any scuffling that ensued was purely friendly in spirit. Israel's Khan broadcaster, which oversees the broadcasting of the World Cup here in Israel, actually interviewed one of the fans captured on tape. And the fan said that despite concerns that this was a political clash, actually, there was a, quote, great atmosphere during the game. Everyone welcomed us. A huge percentage of Israelis have roots in Morocco, actually, and routinely travel to the country every year. So it's no surprise that Morocco's team had a lot of Israelis rooting for them against Portugal. Now, this was a close match against a very good team, but still, we're sad to see Morocco bumped from the title this early in the game. Any lingering doubt over whether or not next year's Eurovision was happening in Israel can finally be put to rest. The European Broadcasting Union has formally announced that Eurovision 2019 is officially a go in Israel. The exact dates and host city are still up in the air, but Israelis can finally breathe a sigh of relief that preparations are already underway. This follows more than a little stress over the fate of Eurovision 2019. Following the collapse of a friendly game between Argentina and Israel's soccer teams earlier this month, Eurovision allegedly warned Israel not to politicize the song competition, if they wanted to avoid a similar fate, of course. Now, Argentina canceled the game after the Israeli government moved the match from Haifa to Jerusalem, and Culture and Sports Minister Miri Regev was widely accused of politicizing the event at a time when the recognition of Jerusalem is an especially heated topic. Regev then doubled down on this stance, demanding that Eurovision either take place in Jerusalem or else nowhere at all. Prime Minister Netanyahu soon backpedaled those words, cutting Regev out of Eurovision meetings and promising to obey the European Broadcasting Union's bylaws. Broadcasters plan to announce the host city sometime in September, but in the meantime, they've already released the first official taste of Israel's Eurovision competition with the unveiling of the official logo. Reps from Israel's Cannes broadcasters are in Geneva as we speak, making headway on the plans for next year's festivities. And regardless of where it ends up taking place, Israelis are just stoked to play host at all. But come on, it'll be hard to top Netta Barzilai's winning performance from last year. Yeah, this song is still stuck in our head. Over the last few years, Israel has exploded into a world leader of innovation, earning the title of the world's startup nation. But what exactly does it take to run a successful startup business? ILTV's Brett Allen Smith gives us an inside look at how an organization called Eilat Hub is transforming the city of Eilat into one of the biggest startup incubators in the country. Take it away, Brett.
By now, we've come to think of Tel Aviv as the startup capital of Israel. But what you don't know is that the southern resort city of Eilat has quickly become one of the country's leading startup centers. Not a small thing in a country often called the startup nation of the world. behind me, we're in Eilat Hub, one of the biggest hubs for tech minds and startups in the city of Eilat, and we're about to see 5 startup companies go head-to-head for a grand money prize. Let's take a look. This week-long boot camp has brought together some of the country's most exciting travel innovators with sponsors, advisors, and investors from world leaders like Microsoft, Skyscanner, Champion Capital Group, and more. Over 1,000 startups from all over the world applied, but in the end, only 5 made the cut.
There was an email I just got about the Eilat Hub, and there is a contest, and I gave all the information about us. I gave a pitch over there, and we were chosen among the 5. It was surprising for us as well.
After a long week of hard work, it all comes down to this, the Tech Demo Day. Each startup gets exactly 5 minutes to pitch their projects to the panel of judges, who then get another 5 minutes to ask questions, offer input, and grill the next generation of CEOs. Whoever wows the judges the most is declared the day's winner and goes home with a check for 100,000 shekels.
Eilat is a really high concentration of hotels, so obviously it's an interested destination for us to expand to. But as I mentioned in the pitch, we're looking for global reach, especially Europe at the beginning.
This celebration of innovation is the brainchild of Eilat Hub's CEO, Or Haviv. But for Or, the startup scene is about way more than just dollars and cents. It's a personal journey that stretches coast to coast.
You know, we've been preparing for this event our entire life. I grew up in Eilat, and I remember that when I wanted to get into the high-tech scene, I had to buy a plane ticket and fly to the other part of the world, San Francisco. So standing today in an event like that with such a respectable panel of international companies and investors, all happening here in Eilat is nothing short of a dream come true.
I asked today's participants, so what exactly does it take to really run a successful startup? And their answers were all pretty much the same.
To be a little bit crazy, but one thing I think the most important is just to go on your way and never look back.
And after watching these 5 companies pitch their hearts out, does that ambition pay off?
You know, I've been to a lot of pitch events, smaller ones than this, bigger ones than this. And often you don't judge the pitch event by the winner, because the winners often end up being great. You judge the pitch event by how bad were the bad ones. And the bad ones were really good. Everybody had a serious story, had a serious business pitch. So if you judge a country by the losers, this is extraordinary successful event.
Even as the winner was announced, the spirit in the room was one of total celebration. The team from Nexto ultimately took home the grand prize for their augmented reality-based guided city tours, but today, everyone feels like a winner, a very typical feeling in the startup nation.
I think a lot of things around this innovation in Israel, you know, we need to survive, I think, in daily basis here in Israel. We are very small, but there is a lot of technology that help us, and you see every day in the news when someone is sending bombs to Israel, there is a good technology that stops it.
Joining us with more on the growing startup capital in Eilat is CEO of Eilat Hub, Or Haviv. All right, it was nice to see you in that piece there. So we just heard a lot about this accelerator bootcamp for travel agencies. What about the recent, accelerator conference really stood out to you personally, taking part in it?
Well, I think it was very exciting. This is the second boot camp we're running, international boot camp, and the first one that is focused on one of the core values that Eilat has to offer to the global ecosystem, which is travel tech. You know, Eilat has the biggest concentration of hotel rooms and an international airport, international seaport, a lot of tourism networks. So it's really the central hub of hospitality and travel tech companies, and it offers a direct access for all these amazing startups right into the heart of this industry. So for us, it's
what
amazing.
other boot camps and accelerators has Eilat Hub hosted?
Well, we have about 30 programs in a year. We're very new, about 2.5 years old, but we're growing very, very fast. So we're hosting about 30 programs in a year, and we're just past 114 startups. And yeah, many events. And actually, next week we have another demo day. So a lot of events.
Well, this is very exciting because obviously Eilat is not very close to Tel Aviv. So you're essentially bringing, like you said, a hub, right, to Eilat. Now, you've been working for years to bring the startup culture there. And Now that you're seeing this materialize, what has the process been like for you?
Well, first of all, it's amazing to see the visions collide, right? So we have these amazing people. We have Eric Bentov and the Champion Capital and Ariely Capital people who came in with their amazing vision from the US, their investment firms, and partnered with the Eilat municipality and the company for economic development of Eilat, and all these amazing brains just came together. And
yeah,
obviously, yeah, we built this amazing hub that is now an international center for several fields. One of them is travel tech. We also have biotech and renewable energies and agri-tech. A lot of amazing things are happening.
Well, it's certainly going to be exciting to kind of see what the future holds for the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. If you're like me at all, then you're probably addicted to good documentaries. And ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh is here with the top 5 Israeli docs just begging for your home theater.
For its tiny size, Israel is one of the most talked about countries in the world. Whether good news or bad, the Holy Land somehow makes its way into a headline or two. That's why I'm here to give you guys the top 5 Israeli documentaries that'll give you a deeper look into life in Israel. First up is the documentary The Green Prince. Mossab Yosef's father was one of the founders of the terrorist organization Hamas. The movie shows how he became an informant for Israel's internal security agency, the Shin Bet. In the documentary, compromising interviews between Yosef and his Israeli handler are shown and portrays the life of the spy. This is not your typical story and is one that will keep you on the edge of your seat till the very last second. Second on our list is the 2012 documentary Numbered. In the Auschwitz death camp, inmates were dehumanized and given numbers instead of names, which were permanently tattooed on their arms. Numbered provides an intimate account of how Auschwitz survivors relate to their numbers now and how they've had an impact on their lives. Endless tears is an absolute understatement with this one. This third documentary will give you the chills without a doubt. The Flat focuses on the grandson of a Jewish refugee from Nazi Germany. When he's clearing out his grandmother's Tel Aviv flat after her death, he discovers that she had been friends with a high-ranking Nazi official. The movie follows as he's determined to find answers and travels to Germany to meet the Nazi's daughter. You won't regret watching this movie documentary that takes you on his personal journey of uncovering his family's past. Fourth up is the 2014 Dancing in Jaffa. The documentary is focused around peace and coexistence. It follows ballroom dancer Pierre Dulain's Dancing Classrooms program in Jaffa, Israel, an area with mixed Arab and Jewish Israeli population. It focuses on 3 children from different backgrounds and shows the deep-rooted issues that exist in Israel. But most importantly, the power of the arts in bringing people together. So heartwarming and absolutely unforgettable. The Gatekeeper is 5th on our list, but of course, not any less outstanding. This Oscar-nominated documentary is based on interviews with 6 former leaders of Israel's highly secretive counterterrorism intelligence agency, the Shin Bet. This was the first time they agreed to be interviewed and provides a thought-provoking account of Israel's security situation since the 1967 war, from Palestinian suicide bombings to the assassination of Israel's Prime Minister, Yitzhak Rabin. There's not much to say other than you're missing out if you haven't seen this already. That's all for today's Top 5. Back to you.
The Hebrew word of the day is brought to you by IDC Summer Ulpan, open to everyone.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. At this point, we're well into my favorite international event, the 2018 World Cup. So in honor of this sacred game, today's word is kadoregel, which means soccer in Hebrew. Now, I don't know about you, but kadoregel is my favorite sport. I wait for the World Cup to come around because it means I get to celebrate the game with my family and friends and root for my favorite kadoregel team, Argentina. Now, watching kadoregel is a holy tradition in South America and even here in Israel, so be careful who you mess with when they're watching kadoregel. It's a game that can get pretty emotional. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be clear to partly cloudy, but warm with a low of 72 or 22 degrees Celsius. Then over the weekend, you can expect sunny skies and rising temperatures to a high of about 86 or 30 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.63 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for watching.